Welcome to episode 428. And winter is often known as a season of heaviness, colds, and congestion. But in Ayurveda, it's also a powerful time for nourishment, restoration, and deep tissue renewal. In this episode, I chat with Dr. Sujatha Kekada for a more subtle and clinical exploration of winter wellness, as we not only look at the doshas, but also the tissues and channels that shape our health during the colder months. And Dr. Sujatha provides lots of tips along the way. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette. And if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend starting with the first few episodes where I introduce the foundations of Ayurveda and the doshas. To learn more, work with me, or explore my offerings, you can visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for podcast updates, join me on Instagram at Elements of AyurvedaPodcast. And before we begin, just a quick note to say that this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not intended as medical advice. Now let's dive into this episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome back Dr. Sujatha Kekada, who many of you are very familiar with, a regular guest on the podcast. But let me just read her brief bio for those of you who are new. Dr. Sujatha is the head physician and co-founder of Amirta City Ayurvedic Clinic in Ubud in Bali. She is a certified Ayurvedic doctor with a degree from Rajiv Gandhi University in India. And Dr. Sujatha combines intuition and compassion with bright intelligence and a rock-solid pragmatism to effectively guide people truly individually, just as the spirit of Ayurveda demands. Dr. Sujatha, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Colette. Thanks for having me back again.
Oh, always a pleasure. And today we're talking about winter wellness. But obviously, I've discussed winter wellness in previous episodes, the basics. Today, I want to go dive deeper, especially as I have you here. I can go dive even deeper with all your wisdom. And so I'd like to start with, from a classical Ayurvedic perspective, how do you understand winter, not just as a kapha season, but as a critical tissue building time for the body?
I recall as you talk about winter, my childhood time, I grew up in India. I definitely don't have the winter like you're facing right now, but it's cold, it's misty in the morning, you use blankets. It does get cold up to, I would say, where I come from, Coorg, in the hill stations of southern part of Karnataka. I think the temperature goes at night to like 8 to 10 degrees, sometimes even 5 degrees. So it's like a cold. It feels like it's a time you go inward. You have a lot of warmth. I remember the fireplaces, thick blankets, warm drink, and specific kind of food that your grandma and mom made, which was focused for during that time. So these are all the memories, flowing through my head as you're asking me this question. I think, particularly there's a nourishing special food. And also if you see geographically, this is a time, Christmas, New Year, a lot of enjoyment, eating, drinking, people literally give them permission to enjoy during this period. And then they say, okay, I'm going to finish off this and then go into a detox or do something. So it's like a world gives some sort of permission to go and indulge. So it's, of course, it's building, it's an input time, and also Ayurvedically talking about naturally, basically it's not the time where the kapha goes in heavy aggravation. It's the time where the kapha start to build up. It's a kapha chaya state, we say, small accumulation happens during this month. And not only just it's a building state, from the lens of Ayurveda, we look into, it's a time where early winter, and there's two categories for it, like we call Hemanta and Shishira. So it's basically early winter and the late winter. So this is the two sections goes together. And in the nature, the first stage of the winter is Madhura Rasa predominant. It's like a sweet taste prevalence is there. It begins with sweet taste. As we know, sweet taste carries snigdhata, lots of moisture. And it's also cooling. So it's like a moisture with cooling. That's how the winter begins. So that means slowly accumulative stage. And later, when it goes into Shishira, the second half of the winter, it's more prevalent with the Tikta Rasa, which is more bitter. And there, the dryness creeps in. It starts with moist, sweet, juiciness, and then it becomes dry and cold, making a space for both kapha and vata to get a bit more of in a aggravated state or a sensitive to whatever you do. You need to be mindful of both kapha and vata together. So it's an accumulative state of kapha, building up state. Everything slows down externally in the nature. And, a lot of animals go in hibernation. So accumulation happens. But the human body works slightly different here. So let's say before Hemanta, before the winter begins, that's a time where Pitta was in full-blown aggravation. So the monsoon and the fall time. So Pitta was aggravated, affecting a lot of people's rheumatoid arthritis, inflammation, all those things are in peak. People are sensitive to that. But as the winter comes in, the Madhura Rasa and the coolness helps to reduce the intensity of the Pitta. So Pitta naturally goes down. But because of this cold weather, the heat inside is getting trapped because cold constricts the outer srotas. We'll talk more deep later. So Agni is very strong, and hence you could enjoy during this time any heavy, nurturing, rich food. In that way, your body receives and capable of digesting, absorbing, and assimilating more nutrition. So that means your bala, the strength, your body strength enormously increases because your Agni is high. As long as you nurture the Agni with the right quantity of food, your food is digested, absorbed, assimilated, that you have great energy. So in that way, it's like a building strength. Bala is very high during the winter season. So this is how kapha equals to bala, healthy kapha. When kapha becomes unhealthy, it looks very close to ama. It's like an unused potential energy, kapha out of balance. But kapha in a balanced state is a strong energy that's ready to be used, that's in its active form. And that's what happens in the winter season. Agni is strong. We can enjoy a lot of all these rich food, meat products, even alcohol, all those things. Your body is in the highest way to receive and nurture and use and give you good results. So this is how, the winter time, your bala increases, kapha increases, nourishment increases in the body.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think it's important to discuss here how our environment, the climate we live in, this podcast is going out worldwide. So the climate we live in, of course, will affect those qualities further. When I think of, for example, where I grew up in Ireland, this time of year can be very wet. The ground is saturated. So obviously that's going to increase kapha more, right? Versus where I am now here in France, it's chilly, but we don't have a lot of moisture right now. So can you talk a little bit about that, how the qualities of the climate where you live is going to affect the doshas?
Cold is a common energy that's prevalent in winter season, whether it's a wet cold or a dry cold. That means both affects kapha and vata directly. And also the more the colder and its possibility for that wetness to freeze. That's why kapha never gets aggravated in winter. So if there is a wet dampness, like you said in Ireland, so that kapha is almost like becoming like a ice. So the cold, it doesn't melt. That's why kapha prakopa happens in spring as the sun rays comes up. So it's only accumulates, but it's not going to cause any disturbance as an illness. The result of bad habits or too much of accumulation of kapha, you're not following the rutucharya for the winter season, you're going to only see the result in your spring. That's why a lot of hay fever, sinusitis, allergies manifest in spring rather than you don't see that during the winter. You may have a little wet nose in the winter season, but you're not going to get all these health issues because cold and wet, it's like you making ice or snow. So if you're in a wet area, you may experience, more kapha, less vata. But if you're in a dry area, you're going to contribute more vata, less kapha. So both vata and kapha both are getting affected by the coldness, but having a little bit of wetness, it will affect more kapha, and dryness will affect more of vata. But no matter what, you will have predisposition for both vata and kapha during the winter season.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, this is a more building time. We're still in the early stages of winter, just started December 21st. So we're still in the kapha building stage. And, it's just so interesting what you said. It's like suspended kapha. It's frozen in time, and not until the snow starts melting or temperatures start to increase, then kapha is going to liquefy.
Exactly.
Right. And then
start moving the channels. And because of the vata is aggravated because of the coldness, your srotas is constricted. So peripheries are constricted. So the heat inside the body is trapped in the core. That contributes to increased agni. That's why we feel more hungry during the winter season. So, we don't perspire. So that's why the srotas are blocked. So this is the reason we pee more during the winter and not sweat much. So that means there is a shroto constriction, shroto avarodha we call, which is a natural process. So that's why we have Agni, so that we can enjoy a lot of heavy, rich food during this time without having much negative effect. Of course, along with eating, exercise is a very important thing during the winter time. That's when you need to really exercise more in winter rather than in summer. Your bala is weak in summer, but your bala, the energy of strength, capacity, tolerance of your body is high during winter because of kapha. Kapha is bala. But to use it in your use, you need to have that kapha give a kinetic energy. You need to move. So including regular exercise, even Ayurvedic text mentions sexual activity should be more during winter time. This is a time to indulge in sexual activity or even in alcohol. So this is a time your body would process these things much more better way, giving you the benefit rather than harming your body.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So it has the capacity, that strength of kapha provides a really strong foundation for the body to withstand more exercise, more sexual activity, and more things that are difficult to digest.
Yes.
So you mentioned Ritucharya there, and you've already given a little bit of advice in regards exercise. So I think let's continue on with that, because the Ritucharya being seasonal guidelines. And if you want to talk a little bit more about that now and the importance of these seasonal guidelines during winter and some other differences besides from the increase in activity of exercise.
General recommendation, this is the season you would eat food cooked with milk, or meat, including dry meat, also a lot of grains, because even though kapha doesn't benefit from too much of grains or milk products or sweetness and stuff, this is a time for those people who are sensitive to these product to eat. So that's in the part of the food, because your Agni is good. And also, I'm talking here a general thing. People need to be mindful if you are due to some imbalances from the previous seasons or disease or something. If you're still continuing that imbalance, these recommendation is not recommended for you. So, you need to be mindful that you follow the different seasons and cleansing related to the seasons, and you're transiting as a healthy person into the winter. Then you can enjoy all these things. So this is a little discrimination.
It's true, actually, because you talked about you talked about the trap heat of pitta. So if a person didn't eliminate the accumulation of pitta at the end of summer and they're still carrying that heat, it's going to be trapped. It's going to still manifest in the body, right? Even though you're in cold season.
So pitta and kapha together, it can create like a wet, moist, like what we call damp heat, and can lead into rheumatoid arthritis or infections and things like that. So here we are talking about, your pitta naturally, because you followed a pitta balancing lifestyle during the summer months, and fall, during the rainy season, your Agni goes down. You followed a light diet, and maybe you did a panchakarma at that time, and you're entering into a kapha season, winter, where your body is free from ama. Then what I'm going to tell you now, this is for those people. So you're free from ama. You don't have any imbalances. You naturally kapha is increasing. Your appetite is good. Your hunger is good. You feel strong. You have a calm, peaceful, stable mind. Then you go and enjoy all these things.
Hey there, I'm jumping in here to let you know about the upcoming discounted group digestive reset cleanse starting January 23rd. If you're looking for some nourishment and deep restoration after the holiday season, come join us. This cleanse comes with a 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can tailor this holistic cleanse to you and your lifestyle. And you'll get lots of support from me and the community too. If January 23rd does not work for your schedule, then check out the private cleanse. Same structure, you just get to choose your own dates, and I support you privately. You can check out all the details and register via the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com.
A lot of good amount of grains, meat, sweets, alcohol. There's always a guideline for how and when you can indulge in alcohol. This is something maybe we can talk in how to balance indulgence in life without getting harmed by it. So maybe this is another topic that we could discuss at some point. How mindfully have fun with those things, which is overusage can be harmful, but how mindfully you can engage in all these things. So that exercise we talked about. Also, another important thing here too is the abhyanga part. In any other seasons, if you could not do abhyanga or you didn't have time, the winter is a time to do your abhyanga because of the coldness and tendency for stagnation. Abhyanga and udvartana, and also fuming your house. One, it will keep it warm, and also the warmth helps that we inhale through our nostril to open up the srotas, which naturally constricts. So fumigation with herbs like commonly you can get worldwide, the agarwood, or Palo Santo, if you have access to that, or good quality of incense that's made with sandalwood, ginger, cinnamon, all those things. So having more of this in the house, it really helps, because when we inhale, it expands the channel, so prevents the excessive constriction of the channels if you're suffering from any vata diseases. So the coldness, you can prevent from that.
Yeah, just a quick word there. How about like a eucalyptus oil, like something that's more opening up the pranavata srotas?
Yes, you could do. You can use that mixed with your massage oil too. With abhyanga oil, you can rub, because the dryness, along with the tightness and aches and pain that some people, elderly people, can experience during the winter season. Eucalyptus is a very warming oil, and it's a muscle relaxant. So particularly joints and muscles, particularly those areas, rubbing externally. And of course, using as a diffuser or an oil burner, definitely helpful.
Okay, great. You talked about Uvartana as well. So Uvartana being a dry scrub.
Absolutely. After you massage, you can dry scrubbing. You can simply use like a mung bean flour, a rice flour, and you can add a little bit of spices like a ginger, nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon, and you just do the dry scrubbing. And if you don't have any scrub, you can just use a loofah brush, or even roll a face towel and just vigorously rub in the direction towards your lymphatic path.
Okay, so any simple, like you said, mung bean flour, rice flour, little bit of ginger and other spices in there that you like, or even dry brushing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, great. Okay, we have talked about, yes, the srotas we mentioned earlier, the channels, and I wanted to come back to that because you said that the cold obviously constricts the srotas, the channels. Can you talk a little bit about how winter affects the srotas integrity, especially when it comes to Rasavaha srotas and Medavaha srotas? Mm-hmm. Can you explain those for people who are new? And then
Rasavaha srotas is a channel or a pathway that carries the nutrition that absorbed by your intestine. This is the firstborn dhatu that's responsible for nourishing your body. And Medava srotas is, you can think of the fat cells where the metabolism of fat takes place, and that carries the nutrients that makes the adipose tissue or fat tissue, or same thing that's responsible for breaking down the fat and converts that into energy. So this is a system that's responsible to build the fat or to break down the fat. So I mentioned Agni is high. That means when the Agni is high, whatever you eat is most likely to get digested better than any time, any season in during the year. And once it's digested better, there's less ama or hardly no ama, let's say. That means absorption is good. That means your rasa dhatu is really good. So rasavaha srotas is naturally happy and carrying all the things and flourishing and nurtured. And say your Agni is good, you're eating well, rasa dhatu, super happy, rasavaha srotas is working very well. But if you don't exercise, then you may end up causing trouble at your medavaha srotas. This is what happens in winter. People gain weight. So, that little extra winter chubbiness we call that we get because we're not doing the caring for the medo dhatu by exercising or doing the dry scrubbing, or adding spices into your diet, having warm ginger tea, cinnamon tea, all those things which keeps the medavaha srotas functioning well. So Agni is good. You crave, you strongly want to eat. You eat, but you need to do the other things to make sure that the other tissues are nurtured, not that it gets stagnant at the medavaha srotas. That means we need to produce energy, nurture the bone tissue, shukra dhatu, all those things which follows after the medo dhatu or the srotas related to other tissues which is formed after the medo dhatu. So here, to prevent that overweight happening or stagnation, or tamasic nature, you want to exercise. So this is a time you need to do some good exercise. This is a time I even tell people that go and do workout in hot yoga places, do Bikram yoga or heated yoga. So usually I say don't do that, but this is a time for you to go and experience those things. Of course, I understand when it is very cold outside, you don't want to get out of your couch and walk outside. But when you start moving, your body heats up, your constricted srotas opens up, you sweat. So if you enjoy hot yoga, this is a time for you to do hot yoga. Or you like to run, you could consider going for a run during this time.
Many people will be happy to hear that. Many people are sad to hear that they can't, hot yoga isn't great for them. But like you said, the cooler times, it's absolutely the right time to do it. You mentioned there about we talked about the integrity of the srotas, the channels. Can you talk a little bit so people understand that, we have the doshas flowing through the channels, right? In that elemental juice, which is made within 24 hours of our digesting our food. So can you talk a little bit about that, just so people understand that, you explained how the difference between the dhatus, the tissues, and then we have the srotas, which are the channels where it's flowing, the doshas are flowing through these channels, and how the srotas are, the integrity of the srotas and the functionality of the srotas is affected by the doshas.
Okay. The doshas are expressing itself through many things. You can express through the integrity of your cell, the shape, the structure, how it constricts, all those things are expression of the dosha through the physical structure of the cells. And also srotas, saranat srotas, that's the definition in Sanskrit. That means something which pulsates or something which flows is srotas. That means any movement of anything that happens is through the srotas. In a simple way to understand, I can understand that this is a very foreign concept. You can think of something intercellular space or intercellular space. So what happens around the cells, what happens inside the cells, this is the concept of srotas. Depending on what kind of tissue we are focusing, we call the srotas related to that name. So medas, adipose tissue. So we call medavaha srota. That means what's happening in and around the medavaha srotas, moving in, moving out, tissues, whether those spaces are constricted, open, blocked. These are the few different things can go wrong contributing the manifestation of the disease. So we call Shrota Avarodha, Shrota Ati Pravritti, or Sangha, blockages, many different things. So different areas, different tissues have this mechanism of nourishment going around, connected with the doshas. So if it is too much of vata, these shrotas can be tight. If too much of kapha, they could be blocked. And too much of pitta, they may have ati pravritti. That means production of something too much. As we know, pitta, we generally speak in Ayurvedic language related to inflammation. What actually happens when you have inflammation is there is swelling, there is extra profuse blood flow, accumulation of fluid, all those things. So that means something is producing more. We call that ati pravritti. Ati means excess, pravritti means, production. So, or action that's more than what's needed. So these are the three things can happen related to dosha. Vata causing constriction, pitta, blocked by accumulation of something inside the shrotas or from the outside. It's not just a mere dryness causing. So there's juiciness, but something stuck inside or outside. And pitta having more srava, more flow, more production of something in the channels by glands or, by the cells itself. These are the effects one can see by impact of excessive dosha in the particular channels or the functioning of the different tissues.
Okay, thank you. That's great explanation. Talking about shrotas, I want to move on now to Manovah shrotas, the mind channel. And so how are, our emotional and mental patterns in winter, especially, we're dealing with things like SAD, seasonal affective disorder, or withdrawal or heaviness in the body due to kapha. How does that show up in Manovah shrotas? And even though our digestion may be strong, right? You're saying our Agni is strong, but our mind can still be affected by this seasonal darkness, coldness, and so on.
Absolutely. I think sun, as we know, helps in serotonin, dopamine, all those things, that mood lifting, inspiring hormones that we experience through joy, happiness, inspiration, all those things. All emotions are nothing but, different chemicals flowing through. So what your body experiences, your feelings is through chemicals. Vitamin D is lacking unless you consume fish oil and flax and all those things. We're getting that much less from the nature because sun may be much less showing up. Agni is good, you eat, but the result of the food we ate and the food, the nourishment we receive, if we are not going to use it later in our body to transform that into inspiration, action, or productivity, all those things, that's also backfires, causing stagnation. So, I can receive, I can enjoy, but, what I do with the outcome that I have got, it's like I have cow, I got the milk. If I don't turn the milk into something, it's going to go off soon. So same way, if we don't have the transforming energy after we indulge in something, either burning that through exercise or doing some hard work, or community building, whatever, that you need to use that energy to transform something. So if you don't do that, your Manovah shrotas is stagnant, blocked. It's not utilizing. Mind also needs energy. You're not using the energy that your body produces or body stores. So that leads into tamas, stagnation, nothing transforming, nothing new coming out of what you have created inside through food. And that can lead into this winter blues, melancholy, depression, and isolation also. Like that's why you need to, move, go connect to people, do community work, all those things. So you got to be active. So it's naturally easy for us to be active during summer, but in the winter, we need to be active too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because isolation, when it's cold outside, it's getting darker earlier in the evenings, people can be more indoors and the long evenings and feel more about that isolation. And let's talk about ojas as well. What's the influence of winter on ojas production? And maybe talk about some subtle habits that can either protect or deplete ojas during these colder months.
Kapha is bala, kapha is immunity when kapha is in its pure form. The essence of kapha is ojas, essence of pitta is tejas, and essence of vata is prana. So if you start with Agni being good, no pitta aggravated, you eat well, all the group of food that nurtures, you're active, you're physically strong, fit, exercising, doing abhyanga, doing the scrub, all those things, this is the best chance you can accumulate a lot of ojas that you could use later when the spring comes, where you can do a lot of, agriculture. But, it's difficult to say nowadays. People don't do these things. A lot of people who are listening to this podcast have a very different life. They work throughout the year, and there is no time for accumulation. I believe because Christmas is respected worldwide and people get holidays and stuff, I think you can take this as a time to mindfully nurture yourself and build up the strength, energy through joy, happiness, spending time with your family and all those things. And indulging mindfully, you're able to cultivate a lot of ojas that you could be using throughout the year when you get too busy and facing a lot of stress in your life. So this is a time, if you thoroughly follow the charya of the regimens of the winter season, this is the best time to accumulate ojas.
And community is part of that, right? We talked about the isolation that can come with winter, especially in the cold, dark evenings. And so community is a very important aspect of that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on now to, we talked about the heaviness, the strength of the bala of kapha and the need for heaviness and the natural building of kapha at this time of the year. And then the risk that there is of stagnation as we go throughout the season if our diet and lifestyle do not follow the seasonal guidelines. And so especially in our modern life that you were just hinting to there, that involves less movement and more mental strain. How do we find that balance?
Yeah, because I think seasons are ignored. We try to keep the same lifestyle throughout the year because we're not responsive and mindful and respectful of what happens outwardly, and to be sensitive to what happens inside or how it affects me. During the winter season, taking the time for yourself, family, connection, rethinking, what is important to you. Maybe this is a time you can also do like a winter cleansing of your home, so you can get busy in that way. You may not be able to go out and do lots of physical activities or travel much and stuff. Okay, of course you have winter sports, it's a hardworking sports. You can indulge if you have lots of snow hills where you live. Otherwise, it's a time for you to organize yourself, work within you, inside of yourself and within your home space. A lot of things like we think, we want to do, but we are not able to paint the house, even if you want to clean up your wardrobe, strategize things that you won't like to do. So in this way, we can still, even if you don't have a bigger community to spend time and exchange, I think mindfully, if you plan this, you can get active in the comfort of your home to keep the kapha in balance while you're enjoying the other positive aspect of different kinds of food in a mindful indulgence way. So this is what I would say, that's something people can focus.
Yeah.
You're unable to go out much.
Absolutely. Great idea. And it comes back to that, thought of clearing that stagnant energy in your home by moving things. The energy in your home can get stagnant, especially at this time of the year. So along with the herbs you were talking about earlier, Palo Santo and all that, or the essential oils, it's that purging your home as well, shifting things around, clear that energy.
Absolutely. And this is for somebody who are into like a bhajans, kirtans, all those things. This is the time to do.
Yeah,
you just
great.
need the space in your own house, invite people or go to a place where they're offering it. And this bhajan, kirtan, it can have a lot of flow of prana.
Absolutely.
The right way of singing, and you can really cultivate a good prana during this time. And also doing japa, like repeating certain mantras. Japa means you burning off. You can really burn off karmic residues, mental, dullness, all those things. So there are subtle ways also you could activate. It not need to be just run, jog, and hot Bikram yoga. You
Yeah.
could burn out this in a subtle way to connecting to your energy. So chant, sing, meditate, play
Hmm.
music. All
Yeah.
these things are the time also. I think
Absolutely.
this is the time a lot of the good musicians use time to prepare for their world tour. So,
Yeah.
there's time for that. So I think this is another way that you can focus on creating that inner transformation.
Beautifully said. Yeah, absolutely. And, having mantras playing in the background. Like I love playing Gayatri mantra when I'm doing my yoga, or when you're cooking, putting that great energy into your food. Can you talk a little bit about kirtan,
Hmm.
for people who are not familiar with that?
Hmm. Kirtan is a practice of singing the glorified names of God in a very devotional, loving way. Singing a song, praising the God and his charm, his beauty, his power and strength, or her, in any form. So this is a devotion, appreciation of God and glorifying the God. So it's the songs and you
Lovely.
sing. There's no certain way you can just sing loud from your heart, with group of people, yourself, and ragas or the melody can change who is singing it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And you experienced some kirtan over the holidays you mentioned.
Yes, we did for like my New Year this time was really nice. We did kirtan with Gayatri Mantra as well. We did the fire ceremony, meditation, singing Hanuman Chalis, and other, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, many different,
Lovely.
chantings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a lovely experience. I have so many fond memories of attending kirtans in Bali when I was there.
Mhm.
And like you said, the energy in the room is so uplifting. It's so vibrant. It's just beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned those. That's some really great ideas because winter is, there is a little bit of hibernation going on, like with the animals. So it is a good time
Mhm.
to be in the home and do that work inside.
Yeah.
That we don't tend to do when we're out and
Mm.
about in spring and summer. And you mentioned earlier talking about the warming spices, particularly for Medovah srotas, you mentioned earlier ginger and cinnamon. Let's talk about some of those spices and their effects on the body during
Mhm.
this time of year that could be beneficial for people to
Mhm.
include in their drinks, in their cooking.
Mhm. Yeah, curry lovers, this is the time. Or if you've been to Bali, Sambal, this is the time for you to eat, particularly if you're a Pitta or Vata constitution. Black pepper, ginger, garlic, all these garam masala related spices to use during this time. And, tea like hibiscus tea, cinnamon tea, even including green tea, all those things which have got fat burning effect, or even some fermented food, which is generally not so recommended for the Pitta constitution during the summertime. So here, this is the time, you ferment and use those kombucha or kimchi, sauerkraut. You can bring more of these things into your diet because you have the warmth, and particularly if your Agni is weak, these are the things you could add more into your diet during the winter season. So yeah, these the spice and all the thyme, oregano, rosemary, plenty
Yeah.
of those things too.
All those warming spices. And then looking for more, I think, subtle winter practices from all your years in
Mm.
clinical experience. Is there any subtle practices, especially this time of year, that you feel maybe overlooked that can really have, long-term
Mm-hmm.
health benefits?
Mm. I would say three main things. Hot beverages or simple hot water. Don't drink anything, even room temperature for those people who live in, northern parts of America or where there's winter is very strong. You don't want to drink the room temperature. Your room temperature is our fridge water here in Bali.
Exactly.
So warm water, warm teas, keep everything warm, keep yourself warm, have a nice cover, make your house space cozy, burn aromatherapy oil, all these things. This will take you long way, lifting your mood, keeping your circulation active. And if you can do Abhyanga, do this. This is the best time to do the Abhyanga to reduce that dryness comes or the late winter and pacify the vata, and also giving this loving touch. If you're alone, if you're all alone, I think you could give the love from the touch that if you had a partner or something, you could give that to yourself. So and definitely you should consider taking some vitamin D3, or including food that contains D, like cod liver oil, things like that. So this is the three main things I would say that if you could practice, warm drinks, warm beverages, Abhyanga, self-Abhyanga, and then vitamin D3.
Okay, great. And of course, eating seasonally and locally is ideal. You have all the root vegetables.
Yeah, root vegetable is the key because it's like submerged under earth and it contains all the minerals that you would need, that, it's held. And those seems to be generally a little bit of heating in nature. So perfect to eat during winter season.
Yep, and add all those nice spices to your soups and your stews. Dr. Sujatha, as we come to a close here, is there anything else that we didn't get to cover that you would like to share today on winter wellness?
I think it's a time to go inward, prepare yourself for the rest of the year, nurture yourself, use your times to organize your home, organize what you want for your life. Plus, this is a time, if you misbehaved, in that sense, you can cleanse yourself during the spring, because spring is a time generally recommended to do a cleanse. And you're going to see if you took care of your body, your spring will be smooth, no allergies, no skin conditions, anything. But if you start experiencing sinus problems, sinusitis, itchy skin, allergies, runny nose, all those things, that you accumulated kapha, your body did not process everything that you have eaten. There was no much of burning and transformation. So bodies naturally want to get rid of that as the body is responding to the heat rays from the springtime. So this is a time to do a spring cleanse. So at this time, you could get rid of the excess kapha by doing some fasting, taking herbs to clean your gut, or even if you go to a panchakarma place, maybe doing vamana therapy.
And vamana therapy being
inducing purging to remove kapha, because the main seat of kapha is chest, and the easiest way to get rid of the kapha, the easier door to come out is through your mouth. So induced therapeutic vomiting is called vamana. Of course, it's not that something you induce vomiting by putting your finger or drinking something. It's a very therapeutic. You need to do that under the supervision of a Ayurvedic practitioner or a doctor, because there's a lot of preparation you need to do to properly eliminate excessive kapha from your system.
Absolutely. And I'd love for you to tell us about what's going on at Amrita City right now.
Right now, I think in the previous podcast, I mentioned that, I was building this education center. It's completed in 2026. We are offering internship programs, educational programs, people who are very new to Ayurveda, who not ready to do panchakarma. Here you can experience the benefits of Ayurveda without having to fully go through a panchakarma process, just a gentle, through therapies, some guidance from our expert doctors, simple way, you can put your toes in and see how it feels. So a gentle entrance to Ayurveda for the new people who never experienced. A lot of education programs, yoga teacher trainings, all those things are coming up for the 2026 at our new space called the Ayurveda Hub. Of course, the Amrita Siddhi's Panchakarma Center, which works more medically, still running, and people who are interested in healing something naturally and transform themselves, we're always welcome to receive you.
Wonderful. And I will put all those links in the show notes. And congratulations again on the Ayurveda Hub.
Thank you.
Dr. Sujatha, thank you so much. It was lovely to delve a little deeper into winter wellness with you today. I always appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Sujatha, and you can check out all the links mentioned in the show notes. If you think this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them so we can spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast so the new episodes download automatically for you. And if you would like to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast, I would really appreciate that. And don't forget to come join me on social media. On Instagram, it's Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.